Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name's Mike Piwowarski, coming to you live from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most, from the co-host with the most here on The Rundown. Two-way views, conservative news, and Craig, guess what day it is?
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos. It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yum. It's like a treat.
Woo! Got to love Taco Tuesday. How are we doing, my brother?
Good. Waiting for my tacos. They should be here soon. By the time we get off the air, I should have me some tacos. So we
Excellent. Excellent. Hey, I want to apologize to our audience who tried to tune in yesterday. And for those of you who watched the late version, didn't see one. That's because when we recorded it at 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, well, let's just say my new soundboard didn't quite work the way that I thought it would work. And, well, the sound just wasn't good.
The sound of silence.
It wasn't quite silent. Like that.
It was like squirrel talk, because I'm convinced squirrels, they go inanimate like every other second. Like that's why you see them move all funky. I think they're moving in and out. They're flexing in and out of this universe. So
they're time shifting, or
I think they're shifting. I think they're shifting. Like if somebody says, "Wow, that squirrel has a lifespan of 4 years," I think it's really 2, because I think half the time they're in like a stasis mode.
You may have a point there. You may very, very definitely have a point there. But such was not the case yesterday. The show was just all janky. It just came across all janky. Here it was. I was so excited. I even started the show by bragging about my new toy, and I think that's where I jinxed it.
Nice. Janky means thank you in Polish.
Does it?
It does. Janky.
Well, janky in the hood means something completely different.
Yep. I got you.
I know you do. I know you do. You're in the military, so you are multilingual, and you speak jive.
I speak jive. I speak.
You and Mrs. Cleaver. Choppy don't want to help. Choppy don't get to help.
That's it. Homie don't want none. Homie won't be none.
Good stuff. Good stuff, sir. So we didn't get a chance to catch up. How was your weekend?
Let's see. I worked, did some arms room radio, obviously, and cut the grass. That's what I did.
There you go. Mine was relatively uneventful. I spent some time on the couch and went to a couple of community events. As a candidate, you gotta kind of do that. But those are always fun. Doing those things are always fun to me. I love talking to people, love hanging out. Those are always fun. I don't consider those work. Getting on the phone and dialing for dollars, that's the work.
So you say community events in California, and I immediately think looting,
No, I do not live in Los Angeles or Oakland or San Francisco, so. But I can understand the confusion.
They're all like in the same.
Those, by the way, we refer to those as shopping.
Shopping. There you go.
Not buying anything, just shopping, visiting shops.
Peaceful protests. Yeah.
Well, that's if you add the fire. Now it's a peaceful protest.
That's right.
When cars are on fire, they are then officially peaceful protests.
See, people at that
mostly
they're not
peaceful protests. We have to throw that in. Mostly peaceful.
At that point, people are not looting. They're trying to save the property from burning, so they're taking it out of the building so it doesn't get burned.
See, you get us.
Yeah, I get it.
You get my community. Look at you, all multicultural and stuff.
Yeah. See, I get like San Diego. That's about the extent of what I get for California. So
San Diego is what everyone thinks California is. It's mid 70s to low 90s year round, beaches, beachfront property, beautiful people,
conservative neighborhoods.
Well, yeah, there used to be those.
Yeah.
San Diego's not so much anymore. See, all the
Well,
liberals who move out of places like LA, well, a
yeah,
bunch of the ones who are tired of the fact that, or recognize the fact that they've destroyed LA,
right.
they
Yeah, yeah.
then moved to San Diego, and now they're destroying San Diego
It's the way it works. It's the way it works. Yeah.
like a disease. Yeah,
Although we have
sadly.
the Texas and Florida, we have the checkpoints off from. Is that a California license plate? Let's get them turned around, heading the other way.
Ah. I've said this before on the show, and I'll say it again. My favorite license plate that I ever saw was in Texas. We were there for the Gun Rights Policy Conference, and it said, "If you are here from California, remember, you are a refugee, not a missionary."
Yep. Understood.
Good
Understood.
stuff. Good stuff. Speaking of good stuff, Mike, how about we give a quick shout out to our sponsors before we kick off the program?
Yeah, Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. If you got yourself an AR in the past 5 years, probably got a barrel, one of their barrels. So now you can get them factory direct, rifle caliber, pistol caliber, whatever you desire. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly, fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. Hog Holsters, if you want the best in tactical holsters, concealed holsters, get on over to Hog Holsters. That's HAWG holsters.com, hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. It's all one word, no spaces, all caps. Then you can get the best field gear, tactical gear, web gear, law enforcement, security, whatever you want, whatever it may be. Get on over to uscombatgear.com where you can get everything except the gun.
Whatever it may is, you can find it at uscombatgear.com.
Whatever it may is. So
whatever it may is.
Yep. I did it. Stepped on the old tongue. The phone rang. I was trying to turn it off. That's just the way it goes. So
I feel you, brother. I feel you. You doing all right. You doing all right. But that was fun.
Yep.
Anyway, folks, look, these are sponsors. They're all phenomenal organizations run by phenomenal people. They all love America. They all love the Second Amendment, and they want you to support them. We want you to support them. So do us a favor. Go to their websites by following the links in the description to this program. Go there, check them out, spend some money with them, and make sure you tell them it was the guys over at the Rundown that sent you, so they keep, helping us out, keep being sponsors.
That's it.
Help us help you.
Yep. Craig, while you introduce the first story, I'm going to step away for a moment because my phone will not stop ringing, and I want to make sure nothing's wrong.
All right, bro. You go do you. I got this. All
right. Be right back.
This first story, I'll tell you, is it's one humdinger of a story. And by the way, we are redoing the stories that I had listed for yesterday, primarily because these stories are too good to tell. They are stories that give us an opportunity to point out a few things. In this particular case, I get to say, I told you so. And when I say I get to say, I told you so, it's largely because there are many, I have a lot of Democratic friends. And I'm in California, so you're going to have Democrats as friends. But I keep trying to tell them, and I have people that I deal with in public policy. I keep trying to explain to them, I'm like, look, there's a civil war in the Democratic Party. And the war is between traditional Democrats who disagree with Republicans they may disagree with Republicans on the role that government should play in our private lives, as well as in public decisions or in our finances or anything like that. But for the most part, they believe in debate. They believe in free speech. They believe in airing out and debating the issues, putting it to a vote, and whoever wins wins. You don't have to like who wins, but you know that's how it goes down. But in their party now, there are the folks that we call the progressives, right? Or they call themselves the progressives. And if you understand history, you understand that the progressive movement from the 1920s was basically, they liked communism. They liked Marxism. They liked what they believed what was going on in the Soviet Union. And they were pushing those same sorts of policies here in the United States. So that's why I have no problem calling them Marxists, because guess what? They are Marxists. When you look at the things that they support, when you look at the policies that they are promoting, when you look at the what's what I'm looking for? When you look at the rhetoric that they use, go back and read the gender queer theory. Go back and read transgender theory. Go back and read books and documents on critical race theory or on modern feminism. Go read all of that and listen for the buzzwords, and then go back and read Das Kapital. Go back and read the Communist Manifesto, and you will find that the same themes, the same terms and terminology and conflicts are played out in those. They are Marxists. They may be neo-Marxists. They may be, instead of economic Marxists, they may just be cultural Marxists, but it is Marxism nonetheless, right? Now, how do I know this? Well, and how do I know that the Democratic Party is leaning that direction? Well, one only need pay attention to what is going on right now inside the Democratic Socialist Convention. And this is a piece that's over at the Washington Free Beacon that really kind of points it out and makes all of these points for us. So here it talks about this is inside the DSA convention where socialists declared dominance over Dems and set their sights on 2028. The Democratic Socialists of America sent a clear message to Democrats during its biennial convention where we're in charge now. Zoran Mamdani's surprise win wasn't an anomaly, delegates said, but rather the start of DSA's rise to power over the Democratic Party. Roughly 1,200 DSA members gathered over the weekend at McCormick Place, Chicago's convention center, to solidify their party's platform. Tickets for the three-day convention attended by Washington Free Beacon cost $225 and required party membership. Attendees were also required to submit proof of a negative COVID test prior to arrival. 2025. We call it now Omicron. I think that's the version we're actually 10 versions past Omicron, and they're still looking for positive COVID tests. In any event, a convention live stream was exclusive to registered DSA members, in-person attendees, primarily delegates elected by their. In any event, a convention live stream was exclusive to registered DSA members, in-person attendees, primarily delegates elected by their local DSA chapters, and a few observers, where keep the convention center's location confidential. They don't want protesters like. Anyway, so it says here, delegates celebrated Mamdani's win. Got to remember to pronounce his name right. More importantly, they said he served as a template for future candidates. Quote, "We need to run campaigns that win, campaigns like Zoran Mamdani, which put forward a bold vision of socialist society." Let me say that again. A bold vision of socialist society. That's Marxism. That's code for Marxism. Nate Kay, a delegate from Atlanta, said during a speech Saturday morning debating a resolution on whether or not to put forth a socialist candidate in 2028. Zoran Mamdani shows that Palestine is a winning issue, that socialism is a winning issue. The time for protest campaigns and messaging is over. The time for winning is now, he continued. We can win the Democratic primary in 2028. Not their own primary, the Democratic primary. Anyway, there's polls now that show that a majority of the Democratic Party electorate supports Palestine and want a Democratic socialist to win the presidential primary in 2028. Now, this individual was not alone in his desire to push this particular agenda there at the convention. But once again, it goes back to say this. This is a group of interlopers. You see, they have their own convention, right? For those, the Democrats, listen to me now. You see, they have their own convention. And at their own convention, they're talking about how they're going to take over your party, how they're going to take over the Democratic Party. No, I'm sorry, let me clarify. How they've already taken over the Democratic Party. They recognize that all of the energy is with them, even if all of the intelligence is not with them. Even if the fact that their socialist society has never worked before, anywhere it has ever been tried, they shall not be deterred. Did I say turd? Yes, I did say turd, didn't I? I said deterred. I said they shall not be deterred, right? They refuse to be deterred. But what does that mean? Well, I mean, what does that mean for the Democratic Party? Well, it means that y'all need to wake up. There are people out there, because I know them, right? When I talk about my Democratic friends, most of them are not the neo-Marxist, cultural Marxist, revolutionaries that are represented by the Democratic Socialist Party. They are folks who are like, look, I disagree with the I think we need more taxes. I think we need more government control. That's not me. This is them talking. They're like, I believe we need greater protection for groups. I mean, but the difference is they're generally not the ones who are like, yeah, we need to allow post-pubescent males in female sports. Yeah, we need to allow men to be in women's locker rooms. Yeah, we need to just open up the border and let anybody cross the border, whoever wants to come into the United States, come in. Yeah, prices were never really high. It was all in your brain, and you're listening to Republican talking points. Yeah, we need to have porn in schools. Those are the Democratic Socialists whose goal it is to undermine every American institution, every Western institution that exists, right? Their sole ideology is to destroy society as it exists. That is their goal. How do we know this? Because on one hand, you have Queers for Palestine, right? These are people who are supporters or part of the LGBTQIA plus community, right? Who are advocating for wide open gender and sexual solutions and policies in America. They are partnered with the Palestinian community, the Muslim community, which, by the way, happens to believe that it's okay to throw the LGBTQIA off a roof. Don't believe me? Tell you what, you don't believe me? If you are part of the LGBTQIA community, I encourage you, go to Palestine. Go to any Muslim-controlled country. Fully express yourself and your support for those values in public, in those communities, and let's see what happens. I'll just throw that out there to you, because all I can tell you is when it's happened in the past, it has not been received very well. And when I talk about people being thrown off roofs, when I talk about people being stoned, when I talk about people being hung, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So I'm not exaggerating. I'm not overstating the purpose. What I'm saying is you have people who are on separate sides of issues that are against that are cited because, well, they hate Republicans or they hate Trump. Anyway, and they've declared dominance over the Democratic Party. Period. So Democrats, if you ever want to win again, this was what I said to a group in Santa Barbara last weekend. If you ever want to win again, you better find a way to take back your party, because right now you're not in control of it. You most definitely are not. And the fact that you got guys like Mamdani running or as your nominee in places like New York, or you've got this Somali candidate that's running in Minneapolis, who's running again, by the way, against a left-wing liberal Democrat. Y'all got issues. Y'all got plenty of issues, and y'all better figure it out, because you may win in those places, but you're not going to win anything nationally. You're not going to win anything where that is not ultra left wing without the support of common day, every sense Democrats. There are definitely two wings of the Democratic Party, and both of them are not represented by Democrats. Just saying. All right, we also are going to talk a little bit about Trump and his announcement of the takeover of Washington, D.C. And when I say takeover Washington, D.C., specifically, I mean when it comes to law enforcement, because let's be honest, the place has become, it's not a safe place.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening, and they've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly.
And that's ultimately what the number one thing that is his focus, that is his area of concern is helping them to be able to do their job properly. And how do you know that that's the case? Well, that's because the head of the police union, these are the people who are doing the job. These are the cops that are on the street. They happen to agree with the president.
President Trump earlier saying he's deploying the National Guard to the nation's capital and placing police under federal control now. Let's bring in D.C. Police Union Chairman Gregory Pemberton. Thank you so much, sir, for being here. So from your view, is this necessary?
Well, look, we completely agree with the president that crime in the District of Columbia is out of control and something needs to be done with it. We have to go back to how we got here, though. In 2020, the D.C. City Council passed an enormous amount of legislation that handcuffs police officers, exposes them to administrative, civil, and even criminal liability, even when they do their jobs properly. And now, 5 years later, our authorized sworn strength is 4,000 sworn police officers. We currently have 3,180. So we have more than 800 vacancies for the position of police officer. And the way the department makes up for that gap is through 2 million hours of mandatory overtime every year. So the fact that we need help from federal law enforcement and maybe even the National Guard, it shouldn't come as a surprise, and we agree with that. I think one of the issues here, though, is that we all know that's going to be temporary. So in order to fix this problem and make sure that it doesn't ebb and flow and that the feds come in and we lower crime and then they leave and we're left holding the bag, it's very important that people know that there is underlying legislation that needs to be corrected so that we can actually properly staff this police department in order to properly police the city.
Now, what's interesting about this is that you've got some Democrats who are there who have basically, they insist that that this is just not the case, that there's not crime there in Washington, D.C. That is, well, if you look at the statistics, it's that clearly it's not that bad here. Really? I mean, really, is that where we're looking right now? And I'm trying to find the video, and I thought I had downloaded the video where you actually had some Democrats talking about some of that stuff. Here, let's see, is this it right here? No, that's not it. Yeah, you actually had Democrats talking about how they recognize that there is a problem and that there's a lot of, is this it right here? Trump, New York City. No, I can't find it. Anyway, oh wait, here it is right here. Let's see if I can download it and get it up here and load it into the thing real quick. But what they're pointing out here, and what the thing that they're trying to point out, CNN, okay. Well, still okay. What they're trying to point to is the fact that they're trying to point out and say, well, you have national Democrats who are pointing to crime statistics, but at the same time, what they're failing to understand is that there are a number of areas or a number of places where where the panels are just not accurate, and it's what's the word they like to use on the left? The lived experiences of the left, of the people who live there. Well, it's actually very, very different.
What's striking is that National Democrats are not following Mayor Bowser's lead on this, and that National Democrats have been insisting, just look at the statistics. We have 30-year low, violent crime. Whereas Mayor Bowser is talking about, hey, we need to get 500 more police officers on the streets. We'd like the federal government to help us rebuild our jail. She's talking about some of the reforms she did to make it so accused violent offenders don't get out of jail pre-trial. So there is this disconnect, and I've talked to Democratic strategists today that think that, National Democrats saying, look at the statistics is sort of a tone-deaf way to react.
And it's very much, isn't this the exact same problem that Democrats had last year? Look at the statistics. We promise you the economy is great, while people are going, it doesn't feel great to me. That feels like a lot of this conversation around crime, that you can point to statistics all day long that say, hey, D.C. is safer this year than it was last year. But do people feel safe? Bottom line, if they don't, they may be more okay with something that would otherwise be considered extraordinary.
And I think Mayor Bowser may also.
Well, and what they're pointing to is one of the things Mayor Bowser had a press conference, and she, her concern was, she talked about how, well, they're really not in control of a lot of things because they don't decide what cases get prosecuted. It's a U.S. Attorney's office. Now, mind you, the last couple of years, the U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C. has been chosen by the Biden administration. Might as well have said Obama. So Republicans hadn't decided who the U.S. attorney was going to be. So when they don't get prosecuted, she's like, well, it's not on us. It's on the person appointed by the White House. So she's talking, well, we need statehood so we can have our own control. I'm like, yeah, no, you're not getting statehood. No, I'm sorry. We're not going to give a city statehood, and in particular one that is overwhelmingly controlled by Democrats. By not just Democrats, controlled by the very progressives, the very democratic socialists that we were talking about before. Anyway, so absolutely no, that's not going to happen. But they're right. Because one of the reasons, by the way, the statistics don't work is because in many cases you have them not reporting crime. And not just not reporting crime, folks who run the department and whatnot in DC, one of the things they're doing is they're deliberately underreporting crime. Deliberately, because they don't want to look bad. They don't want to make it look like crime is up there in D.C. And there's a number of reports out there that are related to that. So, what Trump is going to do is he's going to go after criminals. He's going to make sure that he's going to include the FBI in a number of things. He's already put FBI agents out on the streets, and they've already busted a bunch of people. Right? They're working hand in hand with local law enforcement because local law enforcement is not the problem. As has been noted, they're trying to fight with at least one hand, if not both hands, tied behind their back. And he's in a position now where he's like, look, we're going to untie your hands. We're going to let you do your job. That's how we're winning overseas in terms of military things. And that's how we're going to win in this particular case, by letting the experts do what they need to do, in this case, when it comes to enforcing the law. So hats off once again to President Trump. Because, here's the thing. Everyone's going to be compared to Donald Trump. And the best thing that Donald Trump can do is win. I don't care if you are on the right. If you support Trump on one thing, you are going to be thrown under the bus as a Trumpster, as someone who supports Donald Trump. And they're going to make sure to do everything. The left is going to do everything they can to make sure that, that you look bad. Because why? Not because you're right or not because you're wrong, but because you support Trump. And that, by the way, brings me to the question of our good friend, going back to Mr. Mamdani, going back to Marxist. What's interesting about what's going on right now is in Washington, D.C. right now, they are not running against Cuomo. They're not running against the current mayor, Mayor Adams. They're running against Donald Trump because they believe ultimately that what it's going to come down to is they're going to win because people hate Donald Trump. Not because Mamdani is more experienced, not because he's got a better ideas or vision, but because he hates Donald Trump.
Rosanna Scotto joins me now. Rosanna, the question here is, will Mamdani's hate anti-Trump, tactics work, or could it backfire and hurt New Yorkers?
Listen, I don't know. I mean, New York City is a Democratic town, has always been a Democratic town. Want to just point out this poll, this latest poll, Siena poll, very small sampling of people. I think 300 or so registered Democrats or, registered people and registered voters in New York. But interestingly enough, I mean, even the New York Times has pointed out that Mr. Mamdani has very limited experience in a very complicated town. I mean, do you really want to pick a fight with Donald Trump? The man holds purse strings, resources, city housing, the MTA, subways and buses. He wants to make free, Mamdani's talked about free bus rides here in New York City. I mean, do you really want to pick on the guy who holds the purse strings?
No. He's seen pigs fly, too. I mean, it's all just nonsense, to be honest with you. But I think he's relying on the fact that people hate Trump so much here that if he's in a verbal fight with the president, is only going to get him more support.
What's kind of interesting now is Andrew Cuomo, who had very much of a passive primary election strategy, is now getting very aggressive. I don't know if you're on X, but he is attacking Zoran Mondani.
He has to.
And very aggressive. So let's see what happens with the next few weeks. 13 more weeks till, I think 13 weeks or so till Election Day. There are some people who still think that something different, there could be a different outcome.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah, indeed. Next one for you, Rosie.
So, and the funny part is that people are portraying this like, okay, this is really Mamdani against Trump or Trump against Mamdani. I mean, here you have Politico even saying Trump's worst nightmare. Mamdani targets president in his general election bid. And I'm thinking to myself, in what world? Because as I've said many, many times, people want to claim, or the left wants to claim, that Donald Trump is an ideologue. In fact, many on the right, many people who are conservative want to say that Donald Trump is a conservative. He's an ideologue, a Christian conservative. The truth is he's not. He is a guy who understands his market. He is a guy who, by the way, wants to be consequential, who wants to be the most consequential president in history. That means that he wants to have an impact. And, you know, he doesn't care if it's for the right or for the left. What he cares about is that he wants to have a positive impact. And right now, the way in which Democrats have positioned him, the only way he can have that sort of positive impact is as a Republican, is by pushing Republican principles and Republican policies. And so that's where he's at. I'm not saying he doesn't believe in many of these things. I'm saying I don't believe that all of them are part of his quote unquote ideology. His ideology is to win. And part of the way in which he's able to do that is by running based on common sense, not the common nonsense that you hear coming out of the left. That's right. When I call it common nonsense because it's things that you hear coming out of the left quite so often, but in the end really aren't true. Right? Like, give you some examples. Tax the rich, or the rich don't pay their fair share. Well, we've talked about this. The top 1% pay what? Somewhere between 10 and 20% of all taxes. The top 5% pay like 40%. The top 10% pay almost half the taxes, and the bottom 50% of taxpayers pay almost no federal taxes? Come on. But yet you want the rich to pay their fair share. They're paying more than their fair share. This idea when they talk about the poor and the low income or low income earners, the left acts as if someone's born or starts as a low income earner, that they remain low income earners, when the fact is 18% of them will not remain, only about 18% remain in the lowest quartile of income earners. Many actually make it to the very top for at least a portion of their life. Most people move up as they gain experience, as they gain work experience and whatnot, as they gain tenure wherever it is that they're working, as they gain in education, they tend to do better. But the common nonsense is to act like the poor are always going to be poor. Yes, Jesus said, the poor you shall have with you always. He didn't say it was going to be the same folks. Right? There's so many different things that the Democrats say that are just nonsense, that the American public is waking up and realizing that they are, in fact, common nonsense, because you hear this dribble coming out of the left all the time. It's time to replace it with a little bit of what I call uncommon sense, because it's right and it really is common sense. It really is sense, but it's not that common. It's not that common because most people don't take the time to intellectually apply themselves to make it work. Now, then there's just the common sense, right? The real common sense. Like, as I said before, boys shouldn't be playing in girl sports, that you can't just let anybody walk into your country, that you can't keep spending and spending and spending without there being consequences, that you can't continue to spend as a government more than you take in, right? These are some, that you have that you are your own first responder, that you have a right to self-defense, a fundamental human right to self-defense. These are things that the left just does not seem to, or they seem incapable of getting a hold of. And that is the reason why they will continue to lose. They'll win in places like New York City, which is why Mamdani recognizes and why he'll do it. They'll win in places like Minneapolis, Minnesota, where the left have bought into the common nonsense of the Marxists. They're starting to lose in places like San Francisco, where they've actually experienced how bad some of these policies are. And they're like, maybe we need just a little bit of that right wing, just a little something to, get the crime off the streets and, get the poop off the streets. Just a little bit of that, something to the right. Just a little. Can we make San Francisco great again? And they've already seen, by the way, they have a mayor who he is no conservative, but he is a normal common sense Democrat who at least has bought into some of the issues and areas of common sense. And they've actually started to already see a turnaround there in the city of San Francisco. So I guarantee you, if Mamdani wins, he'll be a one-term governor or a one-term mayor. You look at what's going on right now in Chicago. They already went from Beetlejuice to the guy that Johnson, the guy they have now, which basically they stepped out of the frying pan and fell into the fire. You're going to start to see a change there. But evidently, New York needs to see, they need to learn for themselves. Well, we shall see, shall we? Anyway, and this then brings me to our final story, and this has to do with the Democrats who ran out of San Francisco, who just decided we're out, we're gone. Or not San Francisco, they've left Texas because they don't want redistricting to take place in Texas. And they've taken a pretty big stand. We're talking 2.5 weeks. They've been out of Texas. They've been hiding. And it doesn't sound like they're prepared to do anything, to change anything. In fact, if you listen to former Congressman Beto O'Rourke, he's telling them to double down. He's telling them to take the battle to the streets.
Match fire with fire. I think Democrats in the past too often have been more concerned with being right than being in power. And we've seen Republicans only care about being in power regardless of what is right.
So you support the Newsom effort because California right now has an independent commission that does districts in as fair a way as possible, in nonpartisan way as possible. You're saying Democrats should, even though you don't approve of it, Democrats should do it too.
We have to get serious. We have to be absolutely ruthless about getting back in power. So, yes, in California, in Illinois, in New York, wherever we have the trifecta of power, we have to use that to its absolute extent. And then the last thing, this may end up biting Republicans in the ass. You have the possibility that they will disperse Republican voters to make up these 3 or 4 or 5 new congressional districts and put those districts in play. So in Texas, we've got to get out there and register and meet the voters who are going to decide the outcomes in these next elections if they're successful with this redistricting. Our group, Powered by People, is doing this right now on the ground. We can't wait for 2026. We got to do the work right now in 2025.
So first of all, yes, here in California, we have a redistricting commission that is largely controlled by Democrats. The Democrats who are there are registered Democrats. The independents who are there are not registered Democrats, but they have deep ties to liberal left-wing causes and organizations. And then the Republicans that are actually on there, they're not the sharpest knives in the drawers. They're not individuals who are tied in any way or have a deep understanding of the principles, of the values, and the strategies of the left uses during their redistricting. That is how you have in California, where California statewide candidates regularly get between 40 and 45% of the vote, but ultimately we wind up with only 17% of congressional representation being Republican. Nowhere even remote. And by the way, it's even worse in the California legislature, whether it be the Senate or it be the Assembly. So the funny part about what Beto O'Rourke is talking about here is Democrats have already, in places like California, New York, Massachusetts, I mean, all of these Democratic strongholds that are talking about redistricting, they've already redistricted out of it. I mean, they've already maximized their representation. I'd be real curious to see how close they could get. I mean, if they could eke out another seat or two without making some of their more moderate districts a lot more competitive. I'll give you a great example right here in Sacramento. The seat that I'm running for. Well, let's just put it this way. It's a purple district, but it's still purple. It's like D plus 7, means Democrat plus 7 percentage points. The only way in which one of their targets is a gentleman named Kevin Kiley, who's a very, very vocal critic of California Democrats in particular. In order for them to go after him, there's only one district they can pull they can pull in those Democrat votes from, and that's the 6th congressional. Well, if they do that, they open up a door for me. Now all of a sudden, this district becomes D plus 2, D plus 1. So they make this district that's now a purple district, a light purple district, or probably leaning towards blue, maybe a dark, but they make it deep purple. They make it purple leaning red. I would not be opposed to that. I doubt that it will happen, but I would not be opposed to that. But that's what happens when you start letting politicians select their voters instead of the other way around. All right, folks. Well, we're just about done with the program. But before we go, we've got to do our thing. And you know what that is? It's a parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, and get your Hog Holster today. This first one here I am going to share with you. I love this one. This is one here from California. If you might recall that there was $100 million that was raised for fire aid, and no one knows where the money went. And this is the ode to them.
Where did the money go for the fire victims in Cali? Where did the $100 million go from the fire aid show? Bunch of random charities bet Newscom knows. A federal investigation sounds outstanding. Newscom wants to use LA for low-income housing. Get Newscom out of Cali.
Yeah, the sad part is there's a recall election. They're working on putting together another recall. I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'm just gonna say it. Why are you doing a recall? He's out of here. He's out of here in less than 2 years. Why are you not just focusing on making sure that a good Republican gets elected? Instead, what you're doing is you're in California, when someone is the victim is facing a recall, they have unlimited amounts of money that they can raise, which means that's money that he can spread around to other California Democrats to help them beat Republicans. It's a dumb idea. I hate to say this, but it is a dumb idea, and I wish they weren't doing it, but they are. Anyway, here's another one. This one is actually very, very interesting right here. I love this little joke that this guy did. It has to do with renaming national monuments and parks, and I gotta say, this is one renaming I kind of support.
Mr. Trump, are you seriously going to consider renaming national landmarks? Oh, come on, you didn't care when Obama renamed Mount McKinley to Denali back in 2015, but you care that we rename the Gulf of Mexico? Yes, we are going to continue changing the names of things. Honoring some conservative Republican racists, no doubt. What is it this time? Actually, we've decided to honor Joseph Biden and his presidency. What's the joke? Really? Yes, we want to honor Joe Biden. Is that such a bad thing? No, actually, that's very surprising. I am surprised to hear this. What national landmark are you planning to rename? We are renaming the San Andreas Fault. It's not the San Andreas Fault anymore than it... Oh, you're going to rename it Joe Biden's Fault.
Okay, I like that. I don't care who you are. That's funny right there. So when if there is a big major earthquake and California falls into the ocean, it will all be Joe Biden's fault. Anyway, fun stuff, folks, fun stuff. That's going to wrap it up for today's program. We very much appreciate you tuning in. Oh, wait, before you go, we got one last thing, and that's a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start with Hitman Industries, rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you to purchase at any length at hitmanindustries.net. We've got the California Republican Assembly, the conscience of the Republican Party. Check them out at cragop.org. And then we've got the best in concealed carry tactical holsters available on the market at hawgholsters.com. That's HAWG holsters.com, helping Americans wear guns. And then finally, get your tactical gear where you can find all things tactical, except the gun, at uscombatgear.com. And with that, we're going to go ahead and call it a day. We will be back tomorrow on Hump Day. Till then, y'all stay safe, have fun, and we will see you mañana.